want you to imagine you got stuck in an elevator with $100 million contractor. Now he or she is going to tell you time is money. Quick example, if you run a $5 million contracting business and you listen to this episode for just an hour, this episode has to be worth $2,501. Or I will invite you to move on and watch funny cat videos. Just do the math, 5 million divided by 2,000 working hours a year, and you'll see what I mean. Time really is money, especially for a growing contractor who's a businessman who that just happens to be a contractor. That's why I went out and got Joe Everest to be a guest for the show. I met him at a Fence Contractors Association conference in Branson, Missouri. Beautiful place. If you're a fence contractor, you'll already recognize Joe from Ozark Fence Company because here on YouTube, he always wears that orange high-vis shirt. He's a third-generation fencing expert, YouTube creator, and industry leader. He's also a dad and a husband. And he helps fence companies grow through education and marketing and real-world insights. And that's what we're going to get from him today because I'm going to pick his brain on how time management is important for him. I'm going to talk to him about leveraging technology so that you can find ways to save time and increase your profits. And I want to talk to him about branding as some sort of competitive advantage. Is it worth it for you to have shirts like Joe's or have nice hats and things like that? Does it really pay off? And listen, as my team and I put Joe's episode together, as we put it into production, we went around the table and we're thinking about what the best support documentation would be to go along with this, especially when we talk about cash and contracting and profitability. And I think that the best professional development tool for you guys would be the Profit Pack. It's actually 5 documents in one. All of them are printable so that you can work through them. Or if you've got a business partner or it's a family business, you can give it to other people as well. And you guys can all work on the same documents together. And you can start to pick away at the places where you're leaving money on the table, or you have an opportunity to make even more money than you currently are. So if you want the Profit Pack, just let me know. Shoot me a text. You guys know my cell phone number. It's very simple. Just text me at 315-903-7853 and say Profit Pack, and then I'll know which package of information to send off to you. All right, let's get over to the studio and learn from Joe. Mr. Joe Everest, how the heck are you?
I am doing so well. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm glad you're here in your high vis colors. We'll have to ask you about that.
Oh, you got it.
You've got a high vis guitar behind you.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So you and I met at a fence conference in Branson.
Yeah.
Which was
Tony
fantastic.
Thornton's,
Tony Thornton's event. Yeah. And I was impressed by that room, and I saw you speaking, and I thought, okay, we got to get this guy on the show.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I got put right before lunch and I acknowledged it to the room. It was like the most dangerous place I could be is between you guys and a lunch buffet that I know is getting set up out there. So yeah. I'll try to keep it quick and concise.
By the way, that barbecue.
Oh
my God. That was good.
How good was that?
Just like I should have known. I'm in Missouri. The barbecue.
We know a thing or two about barbecue.
I know it was good. Even the sides were good. But today we're here to talk to contractors about something that you and I touched on earlier, which is time management for contractors, which is a completely overlooked topic. So today you and I are going to talk about time is money, how to save hours every week while running a profitable contracting business. And you know a little bit about that.
A few things.
Yeah. Let me do this. Let me go back a little bit because not everybody knows who you are. And not everybody knows about your orange. Why don't I do this? Joe Everest. Who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these forward-facing contractors all over the world?
Well, it's a fair question because in my mind, I'm a fence guy in Southwest Missouri, right? So, but how I came to having this conversation with you, it began in 1955. My granddad started a fence company here in Springfield, Missouri. He ran with it for quite a while, built a great business, him and my grandmother. My father took it over from him and my mom ran it really well. And then I took it over in 2016 and we've been able to double it up a few times, primarily leveraging social media as we're speaking today. But then also what we're going to talk about today is leveraging technology, specifically, programs, online applications, that sort of thing to really scale the business without having to scale the business costs, i.e. payroll.
Yeah. It's so important. There's so many tools out there. Which ones do you use? Which ones work? Well, and really, why should you do it? I mean, it's almost a dumb question, but how important is time management to owners? But man,
you only
Let me,
have so much of it. That's the thing, right? And
yeah,
especially I've got young kids that I like to see when they're awake, right? I like to be home for dinner. I
yeah,
like to be able to go coach baseball and softball and things like that. When, on Wednesday afternoons, I like to leave a little bit early in the summer and go coach a little bit.
yeah,
Not possible if I'm the one doing all the work, i.e., the lead procurement, the sales, the CRM or the project management, the billing, all of that. If I'm wearing all those hats, I'm not home quite a lot. So
yeah,
we were able to put some key team members in place on some of those, but a lot of those we use software for.
yeah. Did you what was the thing that was catching you about time that made you decide something had to change? Like, what was the pain in your business?
Yeah, it was coming home after my kids were asleep. I mean,
Yeah,
that
that
was really
stinks.
it. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, it absolutely does. I'd get home late. I'd always intend to be home for dinner, and then there was always one more thing that just had to get done so that the next day went off smoothly. And I'd miss dinner. I'd come home, kids are already in bed, so I'd kind of sneak up upstairs and give them a kiss goodnight, but they were already asleep. And then the construction morning starts before the kids' morning does, and so I was often out of the house before they got up. So I'd see the kids on the weekends there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take too long of that before you realize something has got to change. You got to prioritize your time because, I mean, you're the only one that'll do it. Right. I mean, no one can do it for you. And yeah, at the end of, when you visit folks that are at the end of their career, they never wish they had worked more. Right. They wish
No.
they had taken those trips. They wish they had seen the kids grow up. They wish they had been there for moments that passed them by because they were at the office. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of those things kind of converged at once. And I realized, okay, it's time for a change because this is not sustainable.
Yeah. I've been in that situation, and it's hard to say this, but I've been in that situation many times because it feels like I learn about time management, then I forget. Like
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
eat at the edges, and I've
Yeah.
got to
That's right.
remind myself. And it's funny, my kids, my wife and my family is they don't remind me, but they're the
Yeah.
reminders. They're actually very nice
Yeah.
about it. They don't say, "Hey,
Sure.
Dad, you're not here." I
Where
just
you been?
realize, oh, did I miss that? And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you missed that.
Well, yeah, because the kids will have subtle ways of reminding you. So, like on the weekends, they would say, "Dad, is today a work day?" I said, "No, no, no. Today's not a work day. Like, I get to see you all day. Can we have
Yeah,
dinner tonight? And can we go do things?" Like, oh, yeah, yeah. Today's your day. You got it. And well, and there's that story, right, that talks about a kid asking their dad how much they make an hour, and the dad says, whatever it is, $20 or something. And the kid works on chores for a while, then they come up with $20. They're like, all right, Dad, can me and you hang out for an hour because I've got the
ouch.
$20. Yeah, that story. I mean, I think there's a lot of contractors that will strike home with. And so,
Yeah,
while it wasn't that exact conversation, it was a few weekend conversations that were similar to that. And I thought, it's the kids aren't going to remember how hard I worked, right? They're going to
yeah.
remember me not being there. So
Do you remember a song called "The Cat's in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon"?
yeah, yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Can't right now, Dad. I gotta go.
yeah. And then
Yep.
eventually it turns around on the dad. Do you
Well,
know
yeah, that's it.
the first time I heard about that song, or maybe understood what the song was about? My uncle, who I was working for as a framer, I was doing house framing, told me, he goes, "I think about that song every day when I say I got to do one more estimate or I got to stay on the job site." And he goes, "And I
Yep.
just put the tools down and we go."
Yeah.
He's still my
Well,
favorite uncle,
yeah.
and I
Well,
got a lot of uncles.
and that's saying something. That's saying something. At the
Yeah,
end of the day, I mean, there's a lot more important things, right, than getting the job done or getting a bid done. I mean, they are important. Don't get me wrong.
mm,
But you got to strike some sort of happy medium between providing for your family and being with your family.
yeah. I think one of the things that I've had to learn over time, there's a difference between busy work and getting work done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I know we're not in the technical tools you're talking about, but I'm staying in the mindset piece of this.
Yeah.
That
Of course.
what's your thought on that? Like busy work just consumes so much.
It's easy to be busy, and I think there's a misconception. I mean, there's the thought that hard work pays off, right? But being busy doesn't necessarily always pay off, right? Is There's a difference between being busy and working hard, right? So
Yeah,
it's the most efficient use of your time. Yeah, handwriting out proposals versus entering into a piece of software. One is much faster than the other. They both secure the job. Arguably, there are differences between the two, but if you can get the same job done in less time, then it's arguably pays you a little bit more. Yeah, busy work. I mean, I think it's something everyone struggles with. I certainly do, where it's prioritizing your time. And sometimes those priorities change. But I think you're right. I think you have to be cognizant. You have to realize, sit and think about like, hey, is this task, could I do this fast? Do I need to do it right now? Can I do it faster? And is this busy work that honestly, even if it serves a purpose, can I hand this task off also? Is there someone else in the organization that can get this done at least at 80% efficiency of what I can do it? We ought to probably hand that off.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that 80% because I've always held that if I can find somebody who's 80% of me, I found a unicorn, a rock star.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
right.
I'm never going to find somebody who's 100% of me.
Sure. I
don't think the world wants that anyway. It's a dangerous, weird place.
Well, absolutely. And, there's also the thought there too, is like, well, you're a bit skewed in like rating yourself like I am. Right. And so like, hey, if I find somebody that I believe is 80% of me, they're likely quite a bit higher because I'm overindulging myself at how good I am at some things. I mean, I was having this conversation yesterday with a business owner in a different category, just about, finding somebody that's better than you and smarter than you in a given task, especially ones you don't like that's the person. Successful people find people that are either better or smarter or both, right, and then let them run with the task, especially if it's a task you don't like. And I'm guilty of that 100%.
Yeah. For me, a lot of the numbers stuff, I want somebody to go play with all the numbers and be happy doing the numbers. I just want the report. And I'm not even shy to say it. I want colors and graphs and charts. I can
help me understand.
Yeah, I just want. I don't want to play in the cells, but I admire the people who can.
Yeah. Well, it's just a different mindset. It really is, and it's the saying like, "Give me the pregnancy, or give me the birth, not the pregnancy, or give me the baby, not the pregnancy." It's like I want to see the thing. I don't need to go through the whole process of getting to the thing.
Right. So speaking of getting to the thing, at some point, you looked at your family and how much time you were not able to spend with them, and you said something's got to change. What did you go back and have to change mindset wise inside the company to just to start doing that? Because there's always going to be people saying, I just need you for one more thing, but you have to change. I have to change something in me first.
Yeah, that's it, is realizing I only have so many days or so many hours in a day. Right. We can't make more. There's no tool yet that buys us more time. And so we have to figure out how to prioritize our time. And I had a coach at one point that really kind of distilled that into me. He said, who gets the mail? Like, do we have a PO box because our mail here isn't consistent? So we got a PO box to solve that, checks in the mail type problem. He said, well, who goes and checks the mail? So I do. Why do you check the mail? He's like, is that your highest level task that you can be doing? There's no one else there that could possibly check the mail for you.
Right.
Well, yeah, but I'd like to. So, and then we really got to whittling down on, okay, well, so we cut that out. What else can we cut out here? Well, I like to do the proposals. At the time, I did all the bid work, all the proposals. Okay, well, let's farm that out. Like, I'm not comfortable farming that out because to me, that's something that I like to see. And that's something that, can really tangle a business up if you get the wrong person bidding in the wrong way. And I understand I've talked to guys that have great sales teams and it's all about management, but in my mind, I like doing it. So
you wanted to keep that one. That's fair.
I wanted to keep that one.
Yeah,
that's right. And so then the conversation was, okay, so if you're not giving that away, can you do it more efficiently and effectively? Well, I mean, what does that mean? Well, okay, we were handwriting proposals at the time on triplicate forms. Well,
press hard. You're making 3 copies, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the customer gets a copy. We get 2 because if the job ever sold, then we would give our guys one of the copies and we would still have one. Right. So everybody gets a copy. But then we were scanning them into the system because we had kind of recognized that we need to have a database of these other than a file folder. So anyway, we said, hey, there's probably some software out there that can cut a few of these steps out, consolidate this a little bit. And that was kind of the first step into realizing software allows you to, in essence, buy some time back, right? So if I can do a proposal in 15 minutes rather than 45, okay, well, then we've bought half an hour, right? Sure. And so what does an hour of my time cost? What is half of that number is, how many can I do in a week or in a month? What's the monthly software cost? As long as the cost is less than what my time would have been, then we're net positive.
Yeah.
And
can I give everybody a reminder here, Joe? And we talked about it on this show a lot, but what you're talking about is revenue responsibility per hour.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's also that, and I shared this in the presentation that you and I met at, but the boring definition is Ricardo's law of comparative advantage. You're just trying to figure out what your dollar's worth compared to something else, which is leading to the power to say no. But just anybody out there listening or watching this on YouTube, just take your revenue last year, your total sales last year, and divide it by the number of hours you worked. And so just to do simple math, everybody's is going to be different. But if you sold $1 million in construction and contracting services, and you worked 2,000 hours, your revenue responsibility per hour is $500. That's it. You can't do anything less than $500 an hour, which picking up the mail.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Or this proposal, if I saved half an hour, okay, so if our number is $500, so $250. So if I only do one a month, it's $250 a month. Mm-hmm. As long as the software cost is less than 200, say it's, I don't know, $100 a month. Well, now all of a sudden we found that extra money, and now we're net positive in that regard.
Found the money.
We found time and money. Absolutely. And there's another component, like not only the savings, but now that freed up that half an hour where if we can compound those and I can be doing more tasks, not only did we save money, it allowed me to generate a little bit more revenue.
Yeah. Well, that takes us right to the topic of today.
Sure. Absolutely.
Because people talk to us about that all the time. Hey, I want to save some time. Time management's a problem. And I think the hope is I'm going to save them a day a week by one thing.
Okay.
And it's actually not. It's 10 minutes here, 30 seconds there, 5 minutes there, but hundreds of times a week.
Absolutely.
And that's where you actually get ahead of it.
Yeah, absolutely. In this example, if we saved half an hour per estimate, okay, well, now it's a simple calculation. How many estimates do we do in a week? Times half an hour. I bet we found more than 8 hours, right? Which is what we're looking for if we're trying to save a day a week, right? We're trying to, or I don't know, in the contracting world, I don't know any of us that work 8 hours. It's more like 10 or 12.
I know. That's why I was joking when I said 2,000 hours, but you got to pick a number.
Right. But I think it's finding little things like that add up and have compound advantages, right? That can add up to whatever that one day a week is.
Yeah. What was the first technology or tool you used? Maybe let me back that up, Joe.
Yeah.
When you looked at arranging your time differently, where was the gap and what was the tool you used to fix it?
Well, so the first thing was the bidding software, right? Because that was a big time sink for us. I'll tell you somewhere else for us was at the time we're still going property to property to do proposals. We're still doing on-site consultations. Well, we were horrible at scheduling these things, right? We'd look at an address and we would know if it was north, south, east, or west. Okay, because it says right there in the address. Well, what happens if you have an east address and a north that are technically, they're across town, right? So, but they're scheduled 20 minutes apart. Well, that's not going to work. We're going to show up late, or no one wants to show up late. In contracting, it's better to show up early than late, right? So then we start adding extra time. And what I found myself doing was killing time in a parking lot that was like around the corner because I didn't want to show up half an hour early. Like that's no good. They're probably not going to be there. And so I ended up killing time in parking lots. Now, I tried to hybrid this time where I was also trying to knock out proposals while I was in a parking lot and like try to do time management, which never ends well. And so that was really the next step was, okay, how can we efficiently schedule these routes, right? Which is essentially what they are is, hey, on Monday, we've got these 4 stops at these assigned times. Let's create a route that gets us there efficiently, effectively, and all that. And so we just found a different type of program or another program that actually calculated the drive time because there's online schedulers for sure. I mean,
of course. Yeah. There's dispatch systems all over the place, right? Absolutely.
But what we found was for whatever reason, very few of them effectively calculate drive time from point A to point B. So the software we use now, we set our home base as our office, if that's where I start from. And so we would start at the office and then point B is appointment 1 and it needs to be at such and such time. And it calculates the distance and the average, drive time, that sort of thing. And so, and it's a scheduling link though. So I could send you a link and I could say, hey, we'd love to come look at your project. Click here to find a date and time that's convenient for you. So the software already knows who's plugged in where. So it says, okay, well, is Tuesday convenient for you? It is. Great. We have a 9:35, we have a 11:15, we have it all throughout the day because it knows where everyone's already plugged
Right.
in. So it knows where I can be when I can be there. And
Yeah.
I build in a little bit of a buffer, 5 minutes, so that if I hit extra traffic or if I need to use a restroom somewhere or something like that, I'm not just
Heaven
completely out of
forbid.
time.
No,
Right,
no, no.
right.
You need to be nervous at every appointment because you're
All
running
right.
behind.
Oh yeah, yeah. Really got to wrap this up, or else there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
But it'll do that for us. And so that was the next step, was effectively scheduling the time.
Yeah. Do you use block scheduling as well? Do you say Tuesdays are my out of office estimates day and then Thursdays are my in office shop day? Do you block out things like that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we produce content as well. So I'll have content blocks where I can just block out schedules of times on certain days. Well, and we block out Fridays as a whole. That way it gives me an entire day to wrap up the week. Whatever didn't get done Monday through Thursday, that way I can start Monday fresh. And so I don't have to come in on Saturdays to try to wrap up what didn't get done during the week. Yeah, you can absolutely just schedule out time. Or if I have a vendor wants to come in and meet, or you can, yeah, we absolutely block that time out for sure.
Yeah. I've always found that time blocking is a really important tool for managing my time because otherwise
Yeah,
it just fritters away. It's just gone.
sure.
But if
Yeah.
I say I'm accepting inbound meetings, our sales rep
Mm-hmm.
needs to come by, I tell my assistant Tuesdays at between 1 and 2 or Thursdays between 3 and 4. So when they call and they say, "Hey, when can I meet Dom?" She already
Yeah.
knows what time blocks to put him in. And
Here's what's
then
available.
around that or before that, I already know I'm going to be in the office anyway. And then it's the opposite when I need to be in the field or doing something like that.
I think that's important too, because I believe you and I talked a little bit before about us being visual people. Like I'd love to see reports with graphs and everything. I think that's important for, at least for me, looking at my calendar to see kind of what these blocks are also. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I need to get in the frame of mind to have this block because I'm doing X task. And for me, that's important, time blocking in general, because I'll squirrel away time with busy work if I don't know what my task is supposed to be, or if I don't have a goal in mind, I guess. And
Yeah.
we definitely use time blocking for sure.
Do you do things like in the moment where you say, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to do this thing?
Yeah, I think deadlines are important. I think your brain needs deadlines. Yeah, absolutely. And so what I'll try to do is, when I come up with a task, is establish a timetable that it should take. Like, hey, this should take 30 minutes. If it takes more than 30 minutes, I've got to reschedule my time because I don't want to bleed over into whatever this extra block is. And you find out you become pretty good at being real with yourself on how this isn't a 30-minute task, right? I could probably do this in 20, and then we'll find another little time. Or you look at that, you say, there's no way you can do that in 30 minutes. You're going to need two time. I like time blocking in 30-minute increments. So
Oh,
you're
okay.
going to need two time blocks for this, just in case. But that works for me. I think everyone's got to kind of figure out what works for them.
Yeah.
But that's what works for me.
It's interesting you say that because there is no one-time management technique that works for everybody.
Yeah.
I can tell you what doesn't work, and this is from years of trying and breaking my nose, is having multiple calendars.
Oh yeah.
You
No.
can only have one calendar. Like one, like
That's right.
either it's, so we use Google Calendar, but
Mm-hmm.
Google or
Yep.
Outlook or whatever, it doesn't matter. But that's your calendar. You can't
Oh
have,
yeah.
I use a Google Calendar, then I use a paper day timer, and then I have this other thing, and then my office uses something else. That's a recipe for your head's going to roll off your
Yeah.
head.
It's
your
a
neck.
nightmare.
Yeah, you just can't do it.
Everyone needs to be plugged in at the same one. It's the same one that I see. It's the same one that my team sees. So if they need me for something, they'll look at the calendar like, hey, Joe's got time, Tuesday at 2. And now they know that my door's open if it's something important. But if it's something like, hey, I need to run this idea past him, then it's Tuesday at 2. Everyone has the same calendar. I think that's an important point to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Because otherwise, it's just life becomes crazy.
Absolutely. 100%.
What you mentioned technologies. What was one of the
Yeah.
pleasant surprise technologies you put in place?
I think to go back, I think it was that time, it was the scheduling software, because I was able to, one, not stress about either sitting in parking lots, because that stressed me out quite a lot. Is just knowing that
It's
I've got
wasted time.
unbillable time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's time that I won't get back. I can try to fill it with other things. I can also fit more in a day, right? If we can accurately schedule ourselves, or I could say, hey, I only want to run 5 or 6 proposals in a day. Well, guess what? Now I'm back early. And because I can schedule all those in a single day, the scheduling software will let you define how many of whatever task you want to perform in a day. And so if it's really great, if they all happen to schedule themselves on Tuesday and they all happen to be right around the corner, I can be done by 2. And then I've got the whole afternoon to sit and try to hack away at my to-do list. It was a really pleasant surprise to find myself with that extra time.
Yeah. I know that there's time wastes, time sinks that we don't think about. Just emails. Sure. So, anybody who sent me an email knows this to be true, but I view emails as 15-minute work orders.
Okay.
And I don't take work orders. Right? Because even if you send me an email, it's going to take me a couple minutes to deal with it, to do what I need to do, and then send it back. Obviously, with clients, it's different, but random emails coming in, very low priority to me. I have an assistant who deals with that. As a matter of fact, Joe, I hired my assistant an assistant.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Right? Because she has a dollar value as well, and I need her at her top dollar value. And so some of the other stuff, just the stuff like gathering info, data, making those charts and graphs, she can manage somebody else to do that. But with my emails going back and forth, that time blocking tool, where I push you some sort of, there's lots of tools out there. Everybody can find their own, but a link that says, hey, Joe, looking forward to meeting, use this link to find a time that works best for you.
Yeah.
Gee, that sure sounds nice. But what they don't know in the background is my calendar in the background says, these are the times I'm available. And then, but it stops the 6 emails back and forth. How about Tuesday? Sure. Well, how about Wednesday? How about Wednesday at 1? What time zone are you in? Which is important for me. Instead, they just choose a time and they show up on my calendar.
Well, and the follow-up is important too. So when we're doing on-site appointments, one of our other headaches was we would show up and the customer wouldn't be there. Even if we had followed up the day, we'd give them a call and say, hey, just reminding, Joe's going to be by tomorrow at 2, whenever it is. Wanted to see if you had any questions ahead of time. Right. There was never any questions ahead of time. It was like, hey, making sure you're going to be there tomorrow at 2. Yeah. Now the software does it for you. Right. Just like any of these kind of scheduling softwares do, we do a 2-day heads up, a 24-hour, 1-day heads up, and then an hour before heads up. Like, hey, just want to make sure we understand life comes up. If you need to reschedule, here's a link that will quickly and easily reschedule your project so that we're not knocking out the door, realizing they're not there. And now all of a sudden we've got a 45-minute hole in our schedule because they've had to reschedule, but they just forgot to let us know.
Yeah.
Now that still happens occasionally. Right.
And it's painful when it does. Then you think, I need a system.
Right. Okay. Maybe we go back to actual phone calls, because the problem we're running into is emails are caught in filters all the time. Like, because 1,000,001 emails come in a day, and you need to know, hey, which ones are important, which ones aren't. Well, the software figuring out which ones are important and aren't isn't the greatest. Right. So sometimes our follow-up emails will look like a spam message to some of these. So they get caught in a filtered folder, which is now why a lot of these are now going to text message.
I was just going to say SMS or text message for me is far better. Was it you that asked the crowd how many people use how many people have unread texts versus unread emails?
No, I think that was Robert. I think Robert was making, it wasn't me. It wasn't me, but it was a valid point.
I don't know. Yeah, it was a great point, because I think there was one guy that had tons of unread text messages, but everybody else was like, no, my texts are right up to speed.
Oh no, I know it was Mark Olson with Job Nimbus, because he was making a point about following up and responders and that sort of thing. And they had recently rolled out a texting feature. And that was his point was, hey, if you're still emailing proposals, they might be getting caught in filters, so by texting a link, you can likely get better response.
Yeah. Right now, emails and random phone calls have high probability of being scams. So I'm always cautious, right?
Well, it gets to a point where you don't answer phone calls and numbers you don't know, or at least I don't. I'll let my voicemail filter this out. And if it's important, I'll be happy to call back, as quickly as I can. But unknown phone numbers are very likely to be some sort of spam.
Yeah. Hey, this has just been fantastic, but you still haven't told us the story of the orange shirt.
Yeah. So it's a funny story. So our guys in certain commercial environments have to wear high visibility colors.
Right.
And so at the time, they were wearing safety vests. Well, they never wanted to wear the safety vest. They'd get caught on the wire or the barbed wire. They'd get hung up, or they're just generally uncomfortable. So they weren't wearing them. Right. And so one morning they went out to a project and they came back 45 minutes later. And this was an all day, multiple day project. And so we had asked them, my dad asked him, said, hey, why are you back? said, well, he said they weren't ready for us. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, let me give him a call. Because in his head, he's like, no, I just spoke to him. And I spoke to him yesterday, and he was furious we weren't there yesterday. So I know he's ready for us today. So he calls up the project superintendent. And he goes, no, I sent him home because I asked him to put on the vests. But what we didn't know was there had been an OSHA recordable event there, not by us, but by someone else. And so this project was under a microscope anyway, which safety equipment should be worn at all times. Like that's not, it should be worn at all times, but especially then. And so anyway, we had a conversation and my dad said, we got to figure out, we need to figure out a company uniform that's just everyone wears high visibility colors. Well, I've got a best friend that owns a plumbing and HVAC company, and his dad is fanatical about yellow. All they do is yellow. Their trucks are yellow. Their houses are yellow. Everything's yellow.
Even their houses are yellow.
And their boat houses. They've got some docks down on the lake. They're yellow. You know which ones you go by. You're like, yep, that's them. Yeah. And it became a marketing tool, right? Because if you see yellow, you think this company. And so I told my dad, I said, hey, I've got the exact idea. Like, we're going to be orange. Who else in town is orange? Like high visibility, bright orange. Nobody. Well, it sounds like us. And since I've got kids, I've got a bit of a dad humor. And I'll say, and now we get to say, orange, you glad you picked Ozark fence. Like this works out so good. So good.
I thought you were going to say matched your red beard.
Oh, I was. Well, unfortunately, it's less and less orange.
Oh yeah, it changes color as time goes on. Yeah, the orange will stay.
But now it's everything. It's our trucks. It's our equipment. It's everything we have is orange, and it becomes a marketing tool. And I'll say this story I'll tell you the story. So I was at a gas station just filling up. This a couple years ago, and a gentleman pulled up in a really nice orange truck. And he comes over and he says, hey, he goes, would you mind if I had some of your cards? I said, no, absolutely. Here you go. I said, hey, you thinking about a fence? Is there some way I could help you? Answer any questions for you? He goes, no. He goes, I'm just tired of getting stopped and asking for your guys' cards because people think because I'm in an orange truck that I'm somehow related to you guys.
That he's Ozark Fence.
That he's some sort of representative of Ozark Fence. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so, so then, wrote his name on the back of the cards like, hey, if we'll make this worth your while. And we worked out kind of a program with him. But yeah, it's people see orange now and think Ozark Fence. And I'll get pictures from friends of our trucks, like driving around town. And one of the times is driving down the interstate, which that's a completely different, set of questions. Like, why are you taking pictures of vehicles on the interstate while you should be driving? But it was of one of our new trucks rolling down the road the opposite way. And I thought, wait a minute, these people are traveling at 70 miles an hour. So they had time to see this truck coming, open the phone, take a picture of it, and snap it before it went by. These things are getting attention. This works. That's right. And now we have QR codes on the trucks to where we can track actually leads that come in because of the trucks, that sort of thing. It just became a funny passion of ours, and it works. Every little thing we do is orange. We do temporary crowd control fencing, like at concerts and such. And the vendor we were ordering them from said, what's funny? He said, we have the galvanized ones that everyone has, but he said, do you know that we also have colors? Bing. Really? I said, what colors might you have available? He goes, well, we have high visibility orange. Send those.
Yeah,
Send those to me.
That's the answer, right?
And we put them up, and the venue manager said, of course, these that you bring to us are orange. I thought, well, no, it's high visibility. That way the crowd knows where
right. Yeah.
Sure.
You're doing it for the crowd.
Sure. But also everyone knows that these are Ozark Fence barricades now.
Yeah.
It just became a fun thing. I mean, everything we do from from our pins to our hats to our beanie caps. I mean, everything is orange.
Well, and nobody else can own that now.
Right.
Nobody else can own that color in your market for even a different business category or line of business.
Well, and that's it. And I tell you, like, again, one of the places that solidified it to me, we're in a business conference. So like a business to business type local conference. And I looked out, and this is before we were talking about orange, but we hadn't settled on it yet. We were wearing blue, royal blue with gold lettering. It was very regal. But when you looked out over the crowd, blue was the predominant color in this crowd. Wait a minute, how would you?
Wearing blue right now, Joe.
I know. It helps with this story. But the story also happens to be true. But when you look out, the crowd was predominantly blue. And wait a minute. So we're blending in with the crowd in this room, whereas I could wear, again, this bright orange and I would stick out in the crowd. to where now, like at not at conferences, but at local sales events, home shows and all that, I'll wear an orange top hat with an orange suit jacket, just because I want to stand out that much more. I want someone to come up to me and say, okay, I got to ask, what is going on? I'm like, oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's obviously Ozark Fence orange
Funny
colors.
You should
I'd love
ask.
to tell you,
yeah.
but
yeah.
Stand out in the crowd.
What stands out to me is that you guys started with a problem, which lots of different businesses face. One of your guys stretched the truth.
Yeah,
I'm going to say that. But you had a problem, and we're gonna just circle around that. But you guys found a solution that now becomes, now everybody wears a shirt. You wear a uniform at work. Here's your uniform. It's a t-shirt, so we don't have to. And guys in Texas are in 112-degree weather. I kind of get they don't want to throw on another layer when they're already hot. But hey, boss gave us a free shirt. Now I just need you to wear that shirt.
Well, that's it. It becomes the company uniform. If you're out in the community and you're representing our company, this is how you're expected to present yourself as part of our company, because you are representing us when you're out there. And so this is how we would like to be presented to the community. I think it's important. I really do. And we work with guys when we have hot weather gear. I mean, obviously not everyone's wearing thick orange shirts, right? Not in the summertime. So we'll work with, we just brought in a bunch of hoodies and a bunch of knit caps for wintertime, but it's all orange. Right. So say, hey, I'll take care of you guys, but it's also going to happen to be orange. It's going to have Ozark Fence all over it.
Well, they already know that when they apply.
Oh, it's coming. It's good. Well, I tell you what's funny. And this gentleman's still with us. We're doing interviews. We're hiring on for a particular position. And one gentleman showed up wearing orange. And I said, hey, I like that shirt. Yeah. I said, I like that shirt. He goes, yeah. He goes, I did a little bit of research on you guys, and I realized like you guys are everywhere you're orange. And in my mind, I thought he's hired.
He's already hired. Just don't mess it up.
Yeah, we ought to check a few more boxes just to be sure, but he's almost there. He's almost there. And he turned out to be a very good team member for us. He's doing really great here. But yeah, I think anything you can do to make your business stand out in the minds of your customers, just to live rent free in the back of their mind, goes so far. It really does.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I appreciate having you here, and you've got lots of wisdom to share. You've got a really, really popular YouTube channel. Why don't you tell us if somebody wants to find you, how we find you?
It's literally Joe Everest on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere you look. If you search Joe Everest, you'll find me. The show predominantly lives on YouTube and then is shared out across the others at youtube.com/Joe Everest, where we talk about fencing related content. We're getting more into general business because what we're learning is that a lot of home service businesses are alike. Now, I don't know how to build a roof or how to side a house, but a lot of times the marketing is really similar, or just the business management in general is pretty similar. So we're starting to kind of merge into those conversations as well.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, listen, if I can help in any way on your channel, let me know. And I'm sure you'll hear from some of our audience. There's, I know a couple people out there that are in the fencing industry who we've had as guests, and you never know, they may reach out to you.
Oh, I would love to help however I can. I mean, that's what got us into the channels, is me just wanting to help others and to provide value, and doing video seemed to be the best way to provide value at scale. So, but we talked about it before, and I'll make the public comment. I'd love to have you on the show. I'd love to send you a link and love to have you on, have a conversation on our show.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks, Joe.
Of course. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Well. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you being on here. Great energy, great insights. Third generation fence business. That's crazy. So, Joe, a couple of the key takeaways I got from you. Number one, that time management really is the key to family and business balance. We talked a lot about that, and I think that really rang true with a lot of people that listen and watch this show. You realized you were missing family time because of work, and you had to prioritize time management and put systems in place. We talk about time management a lot. Listen, folks, time management and getting all your work done in a day, and the examples Joe was using about driving from appointment to appointment, it might be all the logic you need to buy a self-driving, I'll say Tesla, self-driving vehicle. Imagine what you could do with that extra time in your day. How many more calls you could make, how many more follow-up calls you could make, etc. Or maybe it's time for you to hire a driver. That's the kind of crazy talk we talk about here. Joe also shared with us how important it is to leverage technology to save time and increase your profits. Again, back to the Tesla, but also, do you have the right software in place? If you've got repetitive tasks, are you, trying to put systems in place for those, or do you have something as simple as an answering service? Find a way to use technology in your business to give yourself one little leg up. It'll pay off. In the example of an answering service, let's say that it's crazy and it costs you $3,000 a month, which I think is pretty high. That's $36,000 a year. How many more jobs do you have to sell just because you answered the phone fast using an answering service to make that make sense? And is that going to give you a competitive advantage and make you an even stronger contractor in your field? I don't know the answer, but you already do, right? And then Joe and I talked about branding as a competitive advantage. I mean, he wears those fantastic orange shirts. It's easy to spot him. Ozark Fence Company, synonymous. It goes right together with that. What are you doing in the field so that people know it's you, so that your team is proud of the colors they fly? All of those things really are critical. I'm glad Joe put a focus on that. Folks, remember to like and comment and subscribe. And the reason that's important is because there's other people out there who are a lot like you were yesterday. They're curious. Maybe they're a little bit frustrated. Maybe they're ready to move from that $2 million range to the $5 million range. It is hard to find good quality information. It's hard to get the inside track from somebody like Joe Everest. So when you like and comment on these episodes, then my team and I know that you want more of this kind of stuff. So please do that. We all appreciate it. If you do want to meet with me and talk about your own business and your growth path, shoot me a text, 315-903-7853, and just say, Dom, let's meet. Then you know what we'll do? We'll meet. Thinking about YouTube, if you want more related topics here on YouTube, I thought that maybe episode 198 would be great for you. That one's called Home Renovations Profits. I'm interviewing Al Keith from 1010 Kitchens, just done a fantastic job on growing in a very tough market with some really interesting outside forces picking away at him, and he's still managed to grow. Episode 225, how to make more money and get to the next level as a contractor. That's actually a Christmas episode. Now, I know we're past Christmas and I know that's another time, but go ahead and listen to that. There's a hidden message for you there. And if you have even a tiny little bit of faith inside your mind, that episode is something you're going to love. And then episode 226, which is just one of our most popular episodes, how to find thousands in profits. The contractor profit leaks you can solve by doing vendor negotiations the right way. And that's an episode with one of the coaches on our team, Lee Miller. Definitely a powerful episode. Look, folks, as you know, this is just a horrible and weak replacement for the time that you and I meet at a trade show or a conference and have a chance to catch a coffee or a glass of wine over the table and chat like real people. And I look forward to that more than you'll ever know. Until then, I'll see you on the next episode.